Hi, I'm Sherry Kendall, and welcome to Hometown Salutes. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Fayette County Veteran Services, Ron Stevens, and also his service dog, Smalls. So welcome, Ron, to the show.
Thank you very much.
So let's get started. You were born and raised in Connersville, correct?
I was born here and graduated in 1989.
Okay. Did you come from a military family?
No, I didn't. I had some family members that joined the service. My brothers served. So I had three brothers that served as well, and then myself. And then I had uncles and grandfathers and stuff that all had served prior. So technically, yes, but not my immediate family other than my brother and I.
Okay. So at what point did you decide to go into the service? Did you go right after high school, or?
I did. I actually did delayed entry. I'd kind of weighed my options as to what was best suited for me, and wasn't always the greatest student back in the day, so I decided to join the military. I initially wanted to go into the Army and fly helicopters, but glasses was not an option. So the Navy guy was like, hey, come into my office. So I went in and talked to the Navy recruiter, signed up for delayed entry in October of 88, and then I shipped off 1 August of 1989. So shortly after graduation.
Okay. So were your parents supportive of this idea of you going in?
Absolutely. My dad worked over at Dresser Roots at the time. Talked to him and a couple other people, and they were, they gave me hey, this is a small town, factory town, so last one in, first one out kind of thing. And actually a couple years after I left is when the factory started shutting down. So it would have been, hey, find a new life somewhere, or here, find a new career path. So I felt the military was the best thing for me, and then it would give me an opportunity to travel and get an education.
Right. So let's start with basic training. Where did you go, and how long was that?
Basic training for us in the Navy was in 3 locations. It was in Great Lakes, Illinois, so Chicago, Orlando, Florida, and San Diego. Figured since I'm here in Indiana, going to Orlando, or I'm going to up here to Chicago, and nope, it's like, get on the bus, you're going to Orlando. So went to Orlando, Florida, was there for 8 weeks. That's the standard for Navy boot camp, was 8 weeks back in the time in which I first came in. So I did all my boot camp time in Orlando, and then followed up. My schooling was in Meridian, Mississippi for my specialty.
Okay, so what was your specialty?
My specialty was administration. I was a yeoman, which means basically I took care of officer records, pay, and entitlements, and also did legal paperwork for the Navy and the commands that I was at. And then I also did security, which was doing security clearances, processing security or classified material, things like that. So that was what my job mostly entailed.
Okay. So is this when you first went into the service?
That was on my first duty station, or my second duty station, actually, is when that one got taken. And that was a cruise photo when we were on deployment. So they basically have like high school yearbooks. You get one for every cruise. So that was what that picture was from.
Okay. And this is an actual...
That was the ship that I was on, or good water from the water up to kind of see exactly how big those ships are.
Wow.
That's the front end of an aircraft carrier, which is 3 football fields long. The flight deck is.
Wow.
And that from the water line where that was at to the top of the flight deck is 8 stories high.
Shoo.
Yeah.
So how is it being on a ship? Rocky?
Not so much on a carrier. Carriers weigh 96,000 tons. So, and they float, and they also catch and shoot aircraft. So it's hard to fathom just how big it is, but you would come like to the building here where the TV studio is, from this end of the building to the other end of the building.
Sure.
And you're still not to the end of a carrier, how big it is. But it does get rocky out to sea. One of the best things, hey, where are you going, pal? One of the best things for me being out to sea is how peaceful it was, and just how deep blue the water is. You just can't really kind of describe it well enough, I don't think. But I found peace and solitude being at sea. But when you're operating and you're working, and the days kind of run together, don't really know if it's Monday or Friday. It's just a day on the calendar. Yeah, I enjoy it, and that's the one thing I miss the most is being at sea.
Okay. So how many servicemen and women are on a ship?
On a carrier for ship's company, it's roughly between 3,400 to 3,600 people. And then when you add the air wing to it, so all the planes and their crews and squadrons, it can go up to as much as 5,500 people on one ship on a carrier.
Wow.
And then the smaller ones all have smaller crews based on size, like from 250 up. It just depends on the size of the ship.
And were you always on a carrier?
For me, I did all my time on carriers.
Okay.
I was on 4 different ones that I actually did at sea and deployment time on. Started off on the John C. Stennis. I actually pre-commissioned that ship, which for that one, I was the 4th person out of 3,600 to initially be assigned to it.
Oh, wow.
So it was completely and utterly one of the best experiences I ever had because we were actually the crew that got to help build the ship, basically, and bring it to
wow.
life. Commissioning ceremonies and all of those things that you see on TV and on documentaries, that's what we did. So I thoroughly enjoyed all my time on there, learned a lot, became a better sailor, better person, and, a better professional with the people that, I got to work with there.
Right. So how many tours did you do?
I did a total of tours as far as commands. I did a total of 8. Started in Little Creek, Virginia, at a place called Surface Warfare Development Group. What they did is they wrote technical pubs for strategy and warfighting and tactics on how the Navy operates. And then from there, I went to the pre-commissioning unit of the John C. Stennis, which was the buildup of the actual USS John C. Stennis, CVN 74. Once I left the Stennis, I went to, of all places, it's really horrible, but I went to Key West, Florida. I highly recommend that everybody put that on their bucket list. But I spent 3 years down in Key West working for the base commander. I was the lead admin person at that time, ran the admin or HR office, basically in civilian terms. I did that for 3 years, and then I transferred to Lemoore, California, where I went to an F-18 squadron, which was Strike Fighter Squadron 146. I did 2 combat deployments with them because that's when 9/11 happened. That was about the time I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were there. So we did one, the first initial deployment right after 9/11 happened, and then we came back, and in short order, we got turned right back around, and then we went out. On that one, we were on the Stennis, went back out on the USS Carl Vinson because one of the squadrons couldn't deploy, so we had to take their spot. So we deployed again, which was only supposed to be for 4 months, which turned into 7 for us. So it was like 2 back-to-back deployments real quick.
Wow.
So first time I was in Lemoore, I was there for 36 months total, but I was only in Lemoore itself for 12 months of those 36. But 9/11 was a big hectic time in our nation's history and stuff. So it was just go, go, go at that point.
So how long were you in before 911?
I went in 1989, so
Okay.
I was in for, 11 years at that time.
So did things go crazy at that point?
Well, initially, like when I first went in, I went in 89, got to my first command December of 89. 1990 rolls around, 91 rolls around. That was the first Gulf War. But I was on shore duty at the time, and I wasn't in a deployable unit. So, and that conflict happened that war happened so fast and ended so fast that I didn't have an opportunity to go because I wasn't up for transfer until 1993. Okay. So the first Gulf War was already over by the time I was eligible to go to a deployable unit. So I didn't deploy for that one, and then that was really hectic. So I was on the home front supporting the warfighting overseas. That's
Okay.
what we did. And then from there, it was kind of a lull from 92 until 2001 when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 up until now, or, in the last few years, it's been good. But yeah, it was real hectic from 01 through about 2012, 2013.
So let's talk about what is this about?
So this picture here, I was selected for Sailor of the Day along with the other gentleman. Basically, they recognized a sailor from 2 different departments every day on the ship while we were underway.
Okay.
And my department put me in for that award, and I was selected for it. We went through a board process and got interviewed, and talked about what our duties and responsibilities were and how we dealt with it. But it was to spotlight sailors that were doing a good job and to help motivate others that, hey, you could be up here one day. But that picture was actually taken on the bridge. We were talking to the captain of the ship, who I actually worked for directly. At that time, I worked in the captain's office, so I worked for him directly. There was no insider, pick on that one. But
Yeah.
No, we got recognized. He gave us, special recognition. We got a few things that, got some spending money down in the ship store, things like that. So it was nice to be recognized.
Wow. That's neat. You want to talk about this?
So that is probably my most prized part of my tour. And the next picture is when I was selected to Chief Petty Officer. I got selected in 2003. And in the Navy especially, being selected to Chief or E7 is a huge step from E6 to E7.
Okay.
Because your roles change as far as you're still considered senior management at E6 level, but the E7 level, it opens up the entire playbook to you. And what I try to explain to sailors and folks about that is when you're E6 and below, they'll tell you, hey, we got to go do this. Well, somebody's got to motivate you to want to go. And all right, you got to get your focus going. That's what chiefs do. As a chief, you're responsible for all your E6 and below. And then you're also responsible for the junior officers to train them. So young division officers just coming in up through, really through the 04 level, they look to the chiefs and the chiefs mess itself, E7, E8, and E9s. So chiefs, senior chiefs, and master chiefs, they look to us as the resident experts, but not just in the job and everything that the Navy deals with. So there's a household term that, runs throughout the Navy and throughout the military. It's like, if you need something, ask the chief. We'll find it, or we're going to get it for you. And like I said, that was that's when I knew, that's the one that hits me the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. How special.
Yep.
So this is you?
That's me in my dress blues. Yeah,
Yep.
It was my official photo. One of my first official photos. The next one is that's my choker white one. That's what everybody calls the Tom Cruise Top Gun one.
So look at all those medals.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. A lot of the medals that we receive is a lot of it due to campaigns that we're in, places that we go, service awards, and then personal awards and stuff. But that's one of them.
Wow, that's awesome.
But yeah,
So this is you?
This is the reason why nobody in town recognizes me,
Yeah.
because that's pretty much how they used to remember me. Not the haircut so much, but without all the face hair and stuff. The next picture is of me and my son Zachary, and that was at my retirement ceremony.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I was presenting him my Chiefs cover at that time, and but yeah, my son was definitely a military kid. He was born and raised and taken all over the country, and super supportive.
Wow. Did he follow in your footsteps?
He wanted to. Unfortunately, he had a medical condition with asthma, and you can't serve anymore if you have asthma. So he wanted to, but he actually runs our family business, which he's a Snap-on tool dealer.
Okay.
In Bakersfield, California. We got into it together, and we've been running it since 2015, but he runs it full time now that I'm back here.
Okay, and he stayed in
Yeah,
California?
he stayed in California. He'll be getting married later this year, and he just had his first boy, my first grandson, back in August. So
Aw.
they were going to get married in October last year, but the baby and everything, it kind of got a little hectic, so they pushed the wedding back. But yeah, he's a super successful businessman and a great father and good husband so far. So yeah, I
That's
couldn't be
awesome.
more proud of him.
I'm sure. So,
This one is when I was stationed in Washington D.C. One of the tours I did is I worked for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the Pentagon,
oh, wow.
and that was right after I made chief. But that was right before I left that tour. That was my boss that I worked for at the Pentagon, and I re-enlisted at the Vietnam Memorial Wall.
That's where you re-enlisted at? Was there? Oh,
Yeah, so choked you up.
I tell you, it always chokes me up every time I go there.
But it was an important place for me. It always has been.
Yeah.
I have a huge appreciation for Vietnam vets. One, Vietnam vets changed war fighting forever. It wasn't just one uniform against another uniform. It was very easy to identify who they were. They were fighting everybody from women, children, elderly, not in uniform, no type of war fighting tactics or anything else. It was just, go into a restaurant and a bar to eat and get something to drink and just relax, and they were being attacked.
They were treated terrible.
Right. And then to come back here and then in our own country where people weren't as understanding and didn't know exactly everything that was going on, but they also fought the war in the media for the very first time. War hadn't been everything before that. World War II, Korea, it was always positive, positive, positive. Vietnam was negative. And you can see it today, even with a lot of the stuff. There's a lot of negativity and a lot of misinformation or a lot of contradicting information from one outlet to another or one show to another. And it's just a matter of you just got to talk to the right people to get the full story. And sometimes the full story is not nice.
Right.
It's not easy. But it's like I tell people, when 9/11 happened, I was on my way to Fallon, Nevada. We were getting ready for a deployment. We're on the highway and we hear the news and we're like, what did they just say? And then we get there and it's, holy crap, we got, for the first time we've ever been attacked here. Not something small that was, in-house. This is an outside entity outside of the U.S. attacking us. So people really got to a point where it was like, now you understand what we go through on a daily basis and what you would go through on a daily basis if you lived in those places. Afghanistan, Iraq,
Sure.
Russia, all these places, you don't have rights. You don't have the right to go do what we're doing now. You don't have that. And a lot of people don't understand it, or they don't see the difference in what we can do here, because you have your freedoms to speak however you want. You have your freedoms to go do whatever you want, good, bad, or indifferent. You don't have that there. There is no walking down the street. Basically, the street here on Central Avenue would be gone. This building's completely completely destroyed or crumbled. That's how those people live there. And to see it, it's it's unfathomable for some people. And it's like, oh no, I can't imagine but that's how people live.
Yeah.
It's just like living homeless here. It's like,
Right.
well, I wouldn't understand it because I'm not homeless, but at the same time, there's people living on the streets here, in garages, in sheds, underneath trespasses
Right.
or overpasses, underneath railroad tracks. They're living in abandoned buildings or tents or whatever. But if you don't deal with it or see it on a daily basis, that happens.
Right.
But being over there, it's totally different. And it gives you a good appreciation when you do come home, exactly what it's like.
Yeah. So did you ever have a scary experience
I
that
did.
you'd want to share?
Won't get too gory into the details, but we had I was working, it was one of the deployments, and I was running all the ground supplies and personnel to and from everybody in the fleet, and I was responsible for getting people to and from their next duty stations and home. So I was taking them to and from the airports, putting them up in hotels, and running them all over town and stuff. And then, but it got a little shaky because we were followed. As soon as we get off the base, we were followed everywhere we went. It was different because they don't like you, and it's not a skin color thing; it's an American thing, and that's where, I got an appreciation for what it's like not to be liked just because they just don't like the way you look or the way or what you're wearing. And we weren't wearing uniforms, but they knew what we were doing because we followed regiments, but we had to break those up, things like that. Spent 3 days in Kandahar, and that wasn't good. Got into an ambush situation there. So I won't go too deep into that because it's a little bit tougher. But to have people that and see and talk to hours before, and then they're gone. So yeah, it's a difficult situation, and I can tell you a lot where veterans come back and it's like, they seem angry and disgruntled. It's because they've changed. And like my family saw it too. It's like I was not the same person when I came back. And it's like, it's hard to explain it, and it's something, but they have to deal with it.
Right.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because, I was never in the service, and you just don't have any idea what you guys experienced.
No, and it's different because we're gone, but it's the same thing. But there's a ton of things here, even just in town, with the things that you do and the people that you come across,
right,
that you've dealt with that I've never had to deal with.
Right.
And like the inner workings of a small town to where you don't have as many resources, but you still manage to get through it.
Right.
And that's how I kind of look at people's experiences, because I'll tell people, make me smart on this. What do I got to do?
Yeah.
Make me understand how this works. But by also seeing, I had a lot of good experiences. I went to Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia 3 times. It's not horrible. Hawaii. But the one thing that I always did when I was, when we stopped on port visits, is I was try to experience the culture. We went on as many tours as we could. Went to palaces in Hong Kong, and would be a mansion, considered a mansion here, is a house to them. But it's, the architecture and the beauty of it, just like here.
Beautiful.
Like Indiana limestone houses, to me, they're one of the most beautiful houses around.
Right.
Indiana limestone, since I was stationed at the Pentagon, part of the Pentagon is built out of Indiana limestone.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, so part of Indiana is all over the place, especially on military bases, because limestone, big, beautiful buildings and stuff in architecture. But yeah, there was a piece of home just about everywhere I went. So.
Aw, that's neat.
Yeah.
So 23 years in the service, and then you got out. What did you do?
When I first got out, I became a contractor, worked on base, doing administration, doing pay and entitlements for everybody on the base there in Lemoore. Did that for roughly about 2.5 years. At the same time, I earned my college degree. I finally went to school, which is what I went in for. I was always mission oriented. So I definitely wanted to cash in on my education. So I did that. I got my bachelor's degree, just a little over 2 years. So I was super happy about that. Finished that off, and that was a big thing for me. Also was able to put my son through college, based off of my military service and what I did there. And then took on a civil service job as an administrative officer. So I was basically the head of HR guy at one of the commands there in Lemoore. Did that for about a year, and then I left that position. My son had gotten injured, as he was a diesel mechanic at the time, and then he had gotten injured. So that's when he decided that he was approached about becoming a Snap-on franchise. And he talked to me about it, and we both signed on with Snap-on. And so from 2015 until I moved back here late or mid 2019,
Okay.
take care of my parents who were getting up in age and needed some assistance. But we've run the business since 2015.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's been good.
So let's talk about your job now, which you're awesome at.
I'm trying the best I can. I'm the Fayette County Veteran Service Officer, which means I work for the county. I don't work for the VA. A lot of people think it's VA because I do so much to help veterans get their VA benefits, whether it's, hey, where are we going? So I work on federal benefits, state benefits, and local benefits for all veterans within Fayette County. And then as every county has a veterans service officer. Some of them are full-time, some of them are part-time, but every county is required to have one. So I took over last July from Cambria Sparks, who was here before, and she fleeted up into a bigger position within the state in the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs. So the job opening came open here, so I applied for it. A lot of people were like, hey, Ron, this is up your alley, which it is. I mean,
yes,
I did pay entitlements, benefits, and then the legal side. Plus, I've been on the VA side because I myself am 100% service-connected disabled due to my service-connected injuries. So I've been through the process, so I know how it works. And I can explain to people where frustrations might come in, but hey, we just need to get through this or that. But there's local benefits, there's benefits through the state itself, as well as more federal benefits other than just the VA. But everything from your car, property taxes, hunting and gaming licenses, those are just some of the state ones. And then the VA's got multiple with service-connected disability and health is their biggest part of the VA. So,
okay.
But that's what I do, and I try to help as many vets as I possibly can. Some of them just need signatures. Some of them just need to be pointed in the right direction. Trying to help some people now with homeless stuff. But there's a lot of local places that do help veterans here. So Centerstone's a big one that does that. And there's a multitude of other ones, but from employment to shelters to assistance, all that.
So how do we get a hold of you, and where's your office located?
My office is located at the courthouse annex, just next to the courthouse, south of the courthouse. Basically, we're probation and Fayette County Emergency Management.
Okay.
Homeland Security is. I'm in that same building.
Okay.
I'm on the first floor. As soon as you go in, you got to walk around the bench, and then I'm the first door on the left. My office hours are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But even though the office has hours, so to speak, I work all the time. So my phone number at the office is 765-825-8412. You can leave me a voicemail there, or you can call my cell phone, which is 559-994-1191. Leave me a message, and I will call you back as soon as I get it, and then we'll work out a schedule. Whether I do appointments for people that are coming in to do claims, but I do a lot of walk-ins because some people just come in and they need a signature, which takes a couple minutes, or they just have a question. And even though I may have an appointment, I help as many people as I can, and then I go right back to the appointments. But you don't always need an appointment with me. And then if I'm out in the community, I don't mind being stopped because I understand what my job is, and I'm a public figure that, people have questions and they can't always get to me. And I'm one guy, so it's hard to catch me sometimes because driving to and from the VAs or driving to and from houses or nursing homes. I do in-home visits, nursing home visits, see people at their jobs, wherever I need to go. That's where I'm going to be at because I'm more of an outbound guy than I am sitting in an office and everybody's got to come to me. I just don't. I've never done that even in my career.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So,
Well, gosh, Ron, I want to thank you
Absolutely.
for sharing with us today about your experience in the Navy. I also want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice. And thank you so
appreciate
much
it.
for what you're doing, giving back to our community as being our veteran services, because that's
Absolutely.
very much needed. And thank you, Smalls, for coming too. So be sure to tune in next month for another edition of Hometown Salutes.